And then assistant. Asomdwe. Good afternoon and welcome to today's program with Family Life Ministries. Thank you so much for making time to join us on Facebook at Mrs. Lucy Owari and also on YouTube at Family Life Ministries TV. Thank you for joining us. And it's another week. We thank God for His mercies, for His goodness. He has blessed us with the gift of life, and we are here once again as usual on Sundays to discuss topics on relationships and marriage. This week is no exception, and we are happy to have with us here Mr. and Mrs. Egan Ekuban to discuss something very nice and special. So my guests are Mr. and Mrs. Egan Ekuban from Pentecost International Worship Center, Akosombo. They are marriage counselors. They've been marriage counselors for so many years. They themselves have been married for 17 years and more. They've been together for 17 years. And so they have all the experience that we need to talk about our topic for today. They've counseled so many couples. So many couples. In fact, I'm sure they can't count the number of couples they've counseled. Mrs. Ekuban is a teacher at AIS in Akosombo. Mr. Ekuban is on retirement from VNRE, and he's also a retired elder of the Church of Pentecost in Akosombo. Mr. and Mrs. Ekuban, you are welcome. Thank you so much for making time to join us once again. Thank you. So our topic for today is lessons from marriage. Lessons from marriage. Now, we all know that marriage is a beautiful institution that God Himself created for us as humans. And even though it is beautiful, sometimes it is not so smooth. There are ups and downs, there are issues here and there. But with the help and grace of God, we are able to navigate through it and make it successful. That is why we have the experts here to come and tell us what they have learned from their years of marriage. So this is a topic that will help the young ones, the single ones who are yet to enter into marriage, those who are new in marriage and probably a bit confused, as well as those who are a few years in marriage and may be going through some tough times. It is for all of us, single, married, experienced. It's even a refresher course for those of us who have been in marriage for a long time. So please get ready, invite a friend, share the link, and let us all learn something. You can also send your questions and comments and contributions to our Facebook page, Mrs. Lucy Owari. You are welcome once again. So let's get straight into the topic, lessons from marriage. I'll start with Mr. Ekuban. Briefly, tell us how marriage is, or how has it been for you in all these years of marriage? How has marriage been for you?
Well, it's been exciting, it's been challenging.
A bit of everything.
A bit of everything.
Yeah.
A bit of everything.
Okay.
So that's how it's supposed to be anyway. So it's a mixture of all sorts of things.
Okay, but all in all, it is worth it.
Yes, sure.
It is worth it because now some young ones don't want to marry. They say it's too stressful, so they don't want to get into it at all. So we can see from you that it is worth it. We learn a lot from it. Mommy, how has marriage been for you? The whole experience.
Okay, first of all, let's say hello to our viewers and listeners. Yeah. And as Daddy was saying, it hasn't been, it's not rosy. It's not an easy road. You have mixture of, good and worries, excitement, anxiety of what is yet to come or whatever. And but in all, I think since we are from different backgrounds, by all means, we will expect some differences in the way we do things. And for that matter, if you are aware of what marriage entails, you accommodate some of these things. We are not the same. Yeah. So you tolerate each other, and then you move on. I think it's worth it to be in marriage, to have a partner. Companionship. It's not getting the warmth. It's not it's not something that we should underplay at all. So it's worth it to be in marriage. It's not very smooth. It's not rosy. We are
but when you
beings,
put everything together, it's been beautiful.
I tell you, it's very beautiful. And
God.
you have to manage it. And when you go out, no matter what, you go out, show yourselves as everything is okay. Yeah, we are one. Yeah. That's it.
Okay.
So
thank you so much.
It's good to be
a beautiful
in
experience. Not smooth throughout, but when you put plus and minus
together,
subtractions, additions, everything works out beautifully.
Exactly.
We thank God. Okay, so the lessons that the Kubans have learned from marriage. Let's start with Mr. Kuban. What have you learned that you would want to share with all of us? Like I said, those who are yet to marry, the young and new in marriage, everybody, what have you learned that are the key ones that you would want to share with us?
So, thank you, Abby. What I would say is that two people in marriage are different. They're different. They can be completely different. And most of the time, that's what it is supposed to be, one way or the other. It is people who are different who marry. As they will tell you in physics that like poles repel, unlike poles attract.
Yes.
So some way, somehow, people who get married somehow have different positions, different temperament, different things, and they come together in that sense. So in that sense, it's you have to learn to try to contain and accommodate the other person. The experience is that if you want to have things the way you want to have them, you always have problems. You always have challenges because you have two individual human beings who, by upbringing, by socialization, by whatever, are different. They're completely different.
I think that even if you are the same, it will be boring.
Yeah.
If you are quiet and your husband is also quiet, they be obvious need them.
Yes. So those are the things that and you try to ensure that a certain level of respectability, in the relationship. Certain level of respectability or respectfulness or whatever in the relationship, and so that you don't always demand what you think is right. Right? Don't demand what you think is right. You must also understand the fact that it's not always going to be give and take. Like I give you, give me. I take, you take. Sometimes it's going to be take. Sometimes it's going to be give.
Okay.
Right? Sometimes one person gives more than the other person. And the other time, the other person will give more than the other person. So it's not like give and take, 50-50. Everything is 50-50. It doesn't work out that way. If you want to have everything 50-50, it will end up with the problem.
Daddy, can you give us examples of that one?
No, if you, for example, you
like money, finances.
Like money issues or whatever. Money issues, for example, household issues, for example.
The chores at home.
And all those things. If you want to make it, I do this, you do that. I do this, you do that. Then it gets to a point where if the person doesn't do it, this other one also doesn't do it. But if you don't see it that way, you see it as a time will come where you have to give and give and give. Without getting anything back. The next time the other person will also give and give without getting anything back.
Okay.
So in that sense, if it's housekeeping money, whatever it is, the one person may give. There are times to that you also have to, you give and you take. But most of the time, if you have that attitude that when I give, I have to receive, then you have a problem.
Okay.
Because it may not come like that, and it can create a problem in your mind as to what is going on, right? So we need to be able to ensure that we don't make it like a kind of competition, sort of.
Okay.
A competition, sort of. So if it's a competition, then everybody determines to win, one way or the other. You have to win. Once it's a competition, the person wants to win. But if you all know that you all belong to the same side of the football team, we are not competing. We are on the same side.
Yeah.
So we need to be able to cooperate in the sense of so that together we can win. Then it becomes easier for all of you, right? Otherwise, things become very, very challenging. Very, very challenging. And many a time, it is the kind of lack of understanding of what marriage ought to be that creates problems for married couples. Because if you have a different understanding and you think that things ought to be in a certain way and it doesn't happen that way, you have a problem. But if you have a general accommodating understanding of what issues are and the fact that things will not be smooth sailing all the time, right? Smooth sailing all the time. So if you know that things will not be smooth sailing all the time, then when challenging times come, you know that these times will come, and therefore you are more or less ready for the challenge that will come, right? But if you think that marriage is they live happily ever after,
Yes.
like a fairy tale,
Like we see in the movies.
like a fairy tale, you run into problems. You hit the rocks sooner or later.
Yeah.
So we need to appreciate the fact that it's a human institution and has all sorts of challenges and frailties and all those things. Even between the female sex and the male sex, I mean, as different sexes, they have different approaches to things, completely different. So if you don't come to terms with all those things, you may end up having too many problems.
So,
today, when you close on chat, the three of us young men were discussing issues, and then somebody was saying that they were talking, and I said, because you don't go to church with your wife, that's why you come to church early.
if you go together, she will delay
If you go together, you won't go early.
Yeah.
So we were discussing, having a chat and all that, and then people were sharing their experiences and all that. So we are different people. I mean, apart from the temperaments, you're also different people as male and female. You are completely different.
Yeah.
And so you need to understand all these things. Otherwise, marriage becomes a real challenge if you don't understand all these things.
So, Daddy, about this understanding, it's a major issue. Who is responsible for this understanding? Is it the church that is supposed to get young people to understand these things? Or it's based on you yourself, the individual, you are supposed to understand it before you enter into marriage? Or it is the family that is supposed to? Because bottom line, young people are entering into marriage without knowing what marriage is about. They have no idea. They think it's all about the wedding, the vacations,
it's an event.
Exactly, the good times that you put on Facebook and IG and all that. They have no idea what marriage is about. So after 6 months, 1 year, mean to me, and they want to get out. So who is responsible for getting young ones to understand what marriage is about?
See, before the church became central to marriage for young people, there's a family that usually handled those things, trying to, like, before the young woman gets a certain age, the parents talking to her and teaching her things and explaining things to her and that kind of thing. Again, at that time, the support system was very strong.
Yes.
Right? The support system was very strong in saying that the parents, uncles, aunties, everybody somehow
part of the
gets
marriage,
involved in the marriage and ensures that there's a certain kind of foundation and support for the marriage, knowing that the people are very young, so for the marriage, so that they are always there to ensure that whatever challenge that come, they are able to. And before you go,
them.
they teach you all these things. And those days when they had puberty rise, they will teach you all these things so that by the time you get to marry, you have some understanding of some of these things, right? Parents obviously play a role in it, but the church is central today.
Yes.
Because the church is where the people, apart from everything else, the church is where everything ends. And when there are challenges, the church has a responsibility to try and help the couple out. So the church has a responsibility to ensure that before the people marry, long before they get to the stage where they are dating and want to marry, the young people have been groomed gradually for them to appreciate all these things, so that marriage doesn't become a nightmare for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So is the church plays a central role. The family plays in fact everybody else involved has to play a role. But I think that the church has to do a lot more in counseling, just before the people marry, but
not when you found the person, probably
not
the wrong person.
Yes, the wrong person. Like we're sharing something, like the sickling condition of the people.
Yeah.
If the people don't get to know early. So in our church, I tell them, look, go and do it now. Go and check your sickling today.
Even before you meet somebody.
Long before, because the sickling will not change.
Yeah.
Your sickling will not change. Your blood group will not change. So even if you go at age 4 or 5, it will never change again.
Yeah.
If you are A positive, you are A positive. If you are AS, you are AS for life. So go and check that one long before you get involved with somebody, because you have had occasions where when they get to that point, it becomes extremely difficult for them to say they won't marry. No, even though they know that this things medically can create a lot of problems. So the church has a real responsibility in trying to guide the young people
And
so that
them for the
they have the proper understanding of what they are going to go into before they marry.
Thank you. So Daddy has spoken a lot. What I picked from what he said was tolerance. Number one, you need to be able to tolerate and accommodate each other as a couple, because you are from different backgrounds, you have different personalities, you have different temperaments, and a man and a woman are different in their biological makeup. Their feelings are different, their needs and wants, their emotions, everything is different. So tolerance is key. That is the number one lesson from Daddy. Number two, he said respect. You need to be able to show respect to each other. And then he also spoke about, I've put here, selflessness and generosity. He said that don't expect to get something back for what you give. It is not 50-50. May 100 cedis, also 100 cedis. And I said, and I mean, I'm and also now, and I mean, I'm missing, we won't see next week. No, we should be selfless and we should be generous, not just with money, generous with your time, with your, what else? Time is part, money is part, your love is also part, your energy. For instance, it takes a lot. In fact, after doing chores for the whole day, I said they are able. So it's you need to give yourself. So all these things are part of selflessness. That's the third lesson that Daddy mentioned. So we'll move on to Mommy, then we'll come back to Daddy. Mommy, your lessons from marriage.
Well, as a woman, you know, when you start, it's all about you, the two, and then having, and when the children come in, you have to apportion your time. You have to be at the kitchen, see to the children, and then see to your spouse as well. And at times, I remember some time ago, going to work, you know, and then coupled with a career task to going to work, you will be carrying one at the back, you will be holding the second one, you will be holding their bags, their lunch, and then yours in addition. So if really you don't understand what is in there and you are doing this, you may be fed up. But when you know, and you know that you are doing it, not even for your spouse, not for yourself, but unto the Lord, because the children must come up as children of God as well. So unto the Lord, it gives you some comfort to continue. Yeah, and then in handling the children too, at times you have to be a bit tactful. As we started with, we are all different. Even so the children from the same womb are also different. They come with different emotions, character. They are different, really. So you have to study them and know how to manage each one of them. Apart from the general training, and as you normally do this, or you can do this perfectly when you start with our devotion, only devotion. It's very, very important. The children need that. So you make sure that the family meets. I mean, whatever time that will be convenient for the family. These days, early morning they are leaving. So you find time, whether weekend, there must be time apportioned for devotion, family devotion. So there, you teach them. They go to a time, or during our sessions when they are up, we share. You will lead the opening prayer, you will say opening prayer, we will lead worship, you will read, then we all discuss, then they all bring their views. And aside that, if there's any issue bothering any of them, we ask them to bring it out, and then we sit. Except ones that they want to see us, I mean, in confidence. That one, So that is one aspect in marriage that has become experiential for me. In fact, as we do that, you also learn. As a mother, as parents, we also learning, because the children, when they were in the secondary schools, at times some of the things they will tell us, reveal to us what as to in school. Then we also advise them as such as to how to manage their friends and those in such if problems, manage them. So that aside, you also have to let them get involved in every task. So as for me, even when I get a house help, I make sure you go to school. We will all go to school. When we come, you, the children, everybody, we all put our hands on deck. And
so
then
the house help is like one of the children.
Exactly, exactly. And most of them, they were even relations that we had to bring in and support. So we all go. I don't leave anybody in the house. I'm gone and you alone. No, we all go. So it was good for all of us and for them too. So we come and they all learn. We will all be in the kitchen. This one will be peeling. This one will be grinding. Yes. And these days they are using blenders. You'll be, then this one will be. So you train them with house chores as well, and that one too is very. I mean, on my side, it was really experiential for me to know that when I'm not there, they can take up or take care of the home and take care of their father. So, well, we need to get them and then get them as friends. In the kitchen, we will be discussing certain issues. I remember when we were students. Our parents, we used to farm to support the home. Yes, so I remember anytime we'll be going on the way, mommy will be talking to us, encouraging us, advising us, and we are 4 girls, and then 1 boy. So most of the time, the girls will be with him, with her going. Then he will tell us, school. She was encouraging us, so that has brought us where we are. And I picked that, and I was also I mean,
teaching your children,
letting them know the importance of education, and then everybody should, whether you are biological or not, everybody should strive and then get some level of education for your future life.
Yes. So thank you, Ma. We've learned time management from you, how to combine work, the pressure from work.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. Sometimes you get home and you are even angry already.
So if it is not unto the Lord you are doing it,
but you are doing, you just forget about the home and then go and rest. But we do it for God. And so combining children, work, husband, and everything, time management, we have to do it very well. And then you also spoke about handling the children, bringing them up in the Lord and teaching them house chores, how to take care of their home in future. And I'm sure today when you look back, you are proud of what they have become. Because if they hadn't learned those things, they wouldn't be able to handle their homes now. Yeah, so it's something we all have to take very seriously. We love them, but that's also part of the love. If you love the child, you correct them, you teach them the right thing so that they don't grow up and become burdens for their husbands and their wives. Wives who cannot do anything, and these days even husbands who cannot do anything. Now the women, we want husbands who are hands-on, not the ones who will be waiting for waiting for everything. Bring me water, bring me even rice. You have to cook it for them. We don't like when that type.
The rice cooker is even there.
So the husbands also, the boys also have to learn how to do all these things.
There was a question you to Daddy about who is responsible.
Yes.
Yeah. So apart from talking to them, maybe the church, family members, you know, extended family those days, they are all there. So the uncle will come, this one will come, they will be talking. And then you also witness the way they are marrying. Those days, some will marry 3-2, but they will still live in harmony.
Yeah.
These days, it's the nuclear type. But what I'm saying is, apart from teaching them talking, I mean verbally, they must also observe. Observe the way mother and father are living. A lot of them learn from that. And out of that, a lot of them, when they see how peaceful and lovely and the way father and mother will always be chatting, and some of them have the desire to also but when the home is not the peaceful type, it may even reflect in theirs as well. So there's the need for us to also lead exemplary life as parents for them, because they observe a lot, they watch a lot. Going out, how you go, does daddy go without telling mommy where he or she is going to, or they go together. Yes, or they go together, and they always come home happy.
Even the way you dress, they watch it. So if you are a mom, the kind of things you wear, it influences your daughter. If you are a father too, what you wear will influence how your children will dress.
So apart from what the church will teach, family members will teach, observing, even at the church, observing couples in the church, and the way some take some couples as their mentors. They look up to them. So I think we have to look at that also, so that we ourselves will check the way we behave in the home, at church. And
if we have it at the back of our minds that we are examples to the children, we will check ourselves, even when it's difficult. You control yourself, because they are watching you, and and we are the first example of marriage that they see. And because they are there with us for a long time, that one sticks in their minds more than the movies and other things that they watch. Very key in bringing up the children. Thank you. Okay, so Daddy, let's continue with you. Anything else you want to share with us? What about communication? Well, it's a whole lot goes into communication. Please talk about communication for us.
It's central to marriage. It is the lifeblood of the marriage. And so if the communication channel is blocked, the marriage will gradually die.
Yeah.
Will gradually die. So what I do that you need to talk a lot. You see, what I've noticed is that anytime, see, she thinks that you're a mind reader. You should be able to read her mind as to.
That's how all women are.
You have to read her mind
and see that she's not happy with something.
Read her mind, and this is something that is supposed to be there. Because I'm asking her something. And so, but you know that. I said, well, how do you know that I know? Unless you let me know. Then, well, if you let me know, then I know. But if you assume that, because of this, you should know. But nobody is a mind reader to read your mind and know exactly what
how you are feeling.
So the little things that you don't communicate can create problems because it can create misunderstanding. If you put something here, I have a different interpretation of why you put a thing there. You who put a thing there, you have a different interpretation of why you put a thing there.
Yeah.
So if you don't tell the person or you don't communicate directly to the person for the person to know exactly what you are up to, then it becomes a problem. Then it becomes a problem. And so all those small communication, it's not the long discussions, but where are you going? Don't expect them to ask you that, where are you going? Or where exactly are you going? Yesterday they were going to a funeral. So they said, I know they were going to the water. So when she was going, I said, where exactly are you going? Because if anything happens, they say, something has happened. Where is the water? You don't know. You don't know. You get it? So these are to communicate so that the person knows exactly what is what. It's very, very, very important. He assumes too many things.
Okay.
He assumes too many things that, he knows. The person may not know. So communications are very important. One thing I also observe is that as married couples, we talk about everything. We don't talk about ourselves.
Okay.
We don't talk about ourselves. We talk about everything. Events, ideas, this, that. But we don't talk about ourselves. The things that really bother us, we are not able to talk about
Express
them.
it.
Many a time we don't talk about them. Because we think that we are so the person should understand. Or the person having married them for so many years, or him for so many years should understand these things and type of thing. So it is important that sometimes you talk about ourselves. You really make certain issues known. So the person, your partner or your spouse, will get to know what exactly is bothering you, what exactly is the issue at stake.
But don't you think that let's talk about the differences between the two people. One person, Abia or you're quiet, likes to keep things to him or herself. Or into baby how new pa onka. In Abia, the other person so also or you're loud or Becca, I am there. But when you observe and realize they be a nipani hunde a casa dodo and how I drink or you're always complaining. I feel that over time you learn to keep certain things, and now I'm wrong. Because me when there, depending on how Wokasano is accepted or otherwise, no, you may not continue. Mommy, someone make an answer.
You may even be termed as snagging.
Exactly.
A person, you see.
If there's an issue that you want to talk about, that you want, provide a solution to it. If you come with a solution, come with something.
The one who is initiating the conversation should have the
without any solution, without any recommendation, without any suggestion. Just keep on talking about it. Keep on. That's what
nagging. Okay.
Expecting the person to find his or her own solutions.
If you come with some kind of suggestion as to how the thing should be done, that one takes away the complaint and the nagging and brings actual light to the situation.
The problem. Okay.
So I believe that instead of complaining, why don't you take responsibility? Then the other person if the person is consistently refusing to do what you expect him to do, and therefore because of that you keep on complaining and complaining and complaining, then once you bring a solution or a recommendation or a suggestion as to how the thing you think the thing ought to be done, you bring a lot of light to the situation, and then the person may say, oh, okay, maybe I can do it this or that way, rather than keep on complaining. So communication in a relationship is vital, it is critical, and I think that many times we don't do enough of it.
Yeah.
We don't do enough of communication. We talk a lot, but we don't do a lot of communication on some of the critical things that are, or some of the small things that can create a problem. We tend to overlook all those things.
Now we create bitterness, we create resentment, and then you realize that you because the lines are not open for you to. But I like what you said there. It's not the long 3 hours. That is not.
I don't believe in those things.
Okay.
I think that the marriage should be as informal as possible.
Okay.
As very, very informal, so that you can discuss things as and when you think things ought to be discussed, rather than wait. They say, oh, you let him sleep. When he's through, wake him up.
Sit down now.
Wake up.
What 3 hours?
If you see,
what's over 3 hours? Also, if you remember our bread into no wonder,
that is true. But you see, if you don't make the marriage informal and you tend to bring formality into a relationship, it creates a lot of problems. You see, when you wake a man up, you wake him up. Sorry, what is it? So then immediately his mind begins to race to try and figure out what is it about.
Okay.
And then you try to build defenses immediately.
Unless they're waking up, it's for something else. So I think even if you have an issue to discuss and you wake up,
do something else before you
session the person fine. Then after that you can continue with your.
Make your marriage as informal as possible, so you can discuss things.
As you are cooking, you can discuss. As you are eating,
relaxing somewhere, then you can bring the issues up. You can discuss. Right. The other thing that I think we also learn is unconditional forgiveness. I mean, because you see, in marriage, you offend and because sometimes you don't even know you're offended.
Yes, sir.
You don't know that you're offended, or the other person doesn't know that he or she is offended. Yeah, what he said was offensive, or what he said was, you don't know. When he said that you should forgive 490 times, I don't think he was talking about church or workplace, or he was talking about, it's in the home where the offenses actually are.
Yes.
Because that's where all of you live. You go, the person is there. You come, the person is there. Every time the person is there. So that's where the offenses actually can come so many times. So you need to learn to forgive. If you don't learn to forgive, in the end,
what if the person is not remorseful?
Yeah, so I that's why I say that most of the time it depends on how you handle the issues. And also I always say that if you ask me to counsel people who are not Christians, it's going to be very difficult for me to do it. Because
forgiveness never can untouch.
No, but if the person is a believer, is a Christian, and the Spirit of God lives in that person, you see, when you do something which is wrong, you know that this thing is wrong. It hits you that this thing that I said was not right. So if the person complains, you yourself, you know that what you said was not right. So it's not difficult for you to. But if the person is stubborn and it doesn't have any, there's no Christianity in the whole system. There's no prompting. There's nothing. Then the person behaves purely for the flesh, and because of that, it's extremely difficult for you to. Even if you point the thing out to him, the person will not accept it. You get it. But if you are in a Christian marriage, you should be able to forgive. It's possible for you to forgive as often as things happen. Yeah. You have to forgive, and also learn to say sorry. It's one word, but it is very, 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 very important.
Yeah.
Very, very, very important. If what you say was all right, it will establish in your spirit that what you said was wrong. So learn to say sorry in a relationship is also very important.
It's difficult for some people.
It's very difficult, but it is important.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry. Mommy, do you want to add to that? Unconditional forgiveness is a big issue. It's a big issue.
So it means entering or being in marriage, you should welcome conflict. You should know that it will happen. Friction will happen.
Your partner will offend
you. So it is not very easy, but if as Daddy just said, if the Holy Spirit is in you and then you feel offended, then you just pray that the Holy Spirit should take control. If really the Spirit is living in you, it will, help you. It will get you to get over it. And so we should know that, and then the younger ones should know that it will come, conflict will come. But as we were discussing just now, how you approach a person to solve it must also be done with some kind of caution. Yeah.
So that you inside yourself.
How do you approach it? Are you approaching it with anger? You have to take your time. You yourself must pray over it, and then at an informal sitting under a tree or going out, you can bring it up. And be ready. If you bring any issue up and the other person is not ready to accept, and as we are saying sorry is difficult, take it cool. Take it cool. I learned a certain slogan that in marriage, so if you have that in you, you argue at a point in time, just you leave it and have your peace.
Peace of mind.
And one other thing that I also add is showing gratitude. Gratitude, yes. The little actions and gifts or whatever, you just zip up for me. After that, thank you. We have to learn the way we have to say sorry as and when it is necessary. We also have to also show appreciation, gratitude. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I do me. That's the way
but some people see that it's your responsibility.
Exactly.
You have to buy fuel for me. You have to give housekeeping. So they don't say thank you for it.
But so when it comes, you say thank you. People don't get it like that. So whatever it is, even if you have decided that you will give the housekeeping money, you will pay fees, you will buy books, when it is done, just show appreciation. That my friend is one books and one what do I say? Something to encourage your spouse. Yeah. And then there's one other thing. At times we also need some kind of let me use space. You want to be quiet. You want to be on your own for some time. I remember when we were young, my brother would want to always give high volume to the radio. At times you want some quietness. So when you find out that your spouse is
a bit reserved, you give
allow
them space.
You allow. The person will revert back with conversation or what else, depending on temperament. Yes. Okay. If we learn that way, and you know the person you are staying with, when the person is quiet, you allow. Otherwise, you go near, and what will come will be that kind of cheeky response, and you may be offended. So you have to also steady the person, know the person's way of
I hear when the men are like that, they are thinking.
They are thinking.
They are thinking, so you give them space.
Yeah.
And the women too, sometimes when we are quiet, we don't want you to leave us. We rather want you to draw closer to us. But sometimes they'll ask you, what is wrong with you? You say nothing. Okay. No, I don't know. That's a bit more space. But for the women, sometimes, be how, but you just want that kind of loving, caring atmosphere. Not that you want to be left alone necessarily, but you show some AEB. Give each other space. Now, a woman so it to can kakra. Now, a corner so you just need time for yourself. Exactly. Why too much?
But if you can be understandable.
Now, obeying any space kakra. And I think that will help to miss each other too. Anna, yes, you will miss each other, and when you come back, even if there are any issues, it will be solved. Yes, so we've learned about unconditional forgiveness and learning to apologize. And yeah, easy, but I think that especially for the singles who are yet to get into marriage, you know, when we spoke about whose responsibility it is for us to understand what marriage is about, Daddy mentioned the church and the family, and the individual too is part. You yourself that you are growing, and one day you hope to enter into marriage, you have a responsibility to learn about marriage, to work on yourself, and another day, work on your weaknesses.
They read books. They read a lot of books on marriage before they get into it. But when they come for counseling, they don't really understand. Most of them don't really understand
the books they've read.
In practical, real terms, they don't get it. So when you explain to them, then they can relate, connect it to what they read from the books and know that okay, so this is this and this is that. So it is important for them to
work on themselves.
To work on themselves, to learn and work on themselves and get to understand some of the issues. But it is. But it's even when you counsel them and they enter the marriage and the things begin to happen, feely.
Yes.
Then they just
they put their nose aside.
That's why for me, I always talk about post-marital counseling. It's very key, but the church doesn't do much of it. And sometimes even when they organize programs, for all sorts of reasons, but because na counseling watch out it's a different ball game. That is practicals. Theory no into the practicals na theory then sometimes you need to get a counselor to help you through some of the issues. I think we shouldn't be scared to go for counseling again, whether you are married or not. Don't be scared. Approach Wosofo and as a counselors are sorry to not only when there are issues, but also to teach you some of the things that and guide you through the challenges that you may be going through. About the individual bit, so young ones, let's learn a lot, even about yourself. I was reading and I was told that marriage helps you to even discover yourself more. You learn more about who you are as a person. Sometimes you don't know that you have anger issues until you get into marriage, and the person is always in your space, and then then you see that I have issues, and you discover so many things about yourself. Marriage is an eye-opener power for all of us. So let's get ready. We may know, but when we enter into it, we will get to know more about ourselves and each other and so Mommy also mentioned giving each other space and then showing gratitude for the little things. Even if it's the person's responsibility, just say thank you. Manefans kakra, Anna, my sugar daddy, my one and only. when you tell them those things, they get excited and they will do more for you.
Even if it's not to you directly, but for the home, for the children.
That's nice. Thank you. Please, any more to add? How about in-laws? How have you handled in-laws in the marriage? Because like it or not, they are part of the marriage. We can't take them out. How has it been like?
Well, it's all about mindset. It's all about mindset. And as we are saying, once you have the Amos 3:3 tells us that we two work together once you have agreed to work together, then it means all that the person has is yours too, including family members. Yes.
Whether they are good or bad, they are for you.
Good or bad, whether they are riches or wizards, they are for you. Yes. Yes, you have gone there, so they are for you. You have to manage them. Yes, you have to manage them. You would think somebody's mother is a witch, but what about yours? So your mindset, and if you are really a Christian, why would you be even afraid of a witch? So you go in with a free mind that, oh, once I've married, your mother is my mother. Somebody was saying just last week that now you can go and take my mother. I've also taken your mother. Let's exchange. Sort of. So you consider the person as let me use God's child, because whether you are grandfather, grandmother, a baby, we are all children. Or consider the person also as a child of God that you have to treat well. You have to treat everybody well, as the Bible teaches us. So you need to give them respect. You need to show them respect and get them closer, or you getting closer. They like fans. So as for my mother-in-law, she likes fans. Just get closer. After all, what would they take? I mean, how much would they take out of you? How much do they need? And consider that she also has a lot of children. They take care. So your little adding up to that will make her feel good.
She'll be happy.
So I think we need to treat them well. Whether you have heard she is this or he is that, you still need to treat them well. After all, the Bible tells us that we should love and love everybody, even our enemies. So if you think that person is an enemy in terms of being in the evil side, you still need to love the person. So really, my mother-in-law is my friend. She is my friend, and when the husband was there, when you go, you just tease them. Hey, with the fansa to I mean, and then she gets so excited. So we need to. It's all about what we hear, but I think it is time for us to know that once we have married from that family, mothers there, aunties there, sisters, brothers, fathers have become ours as well, and we must treat them well.
Yeah. Daddy, will you add anything on the in-laws?
The in-laws, you see, we many people go into marriage with a wrong perceptions about mothers-in-law, especially mothers-in-law. Especially mothers-in-law. People go into marriage with that kind of wrong perception that mothers-in-law are troublesome, they are that. But see, I always tell the people that counsel that mothers-in-law have a genuine interest in how their children become. And so sometimes their attempt to try and they go too far, a bit too far, in trying to make sure that because I always give the example that if your daughter goes to marry or your son goes to marry, and you're a mother-in-law, you tend to be concerned about how things are going to be like. So if you're not careful, you may end up interfering in the relationship, right? So sometimes the interference comes not because they have evil intentions, but because of that emotional attachment that they have with their children, and that boils over and then becomes interference in the relationship, right? But if you come to understand where they are coming from, then they become easy for you to deal with them. If you know that that thing is not too much of interference. You see, the temptation to interfere is very strong.
To know what is
It's very strong. The
To know what you are cooking for the son, and
temptation to interfere is very
and
strong.
how you are spending the son's money.
So you have to be able to find a way of handling the issue in such a way that, and I always say, if the issue is about my mother, who is the problem, I should deal with the problem myself, not my wife. My wife shouldn't go into dealing with those problems, because once she enters into it, she creates a problem. But I should be able to deal with it myself, right? And if it's the people who are causing trouble, she should be able to deal with the issue herself, because she is the one who knows how to deal with them. And whatever she says will not be an offense to them. If the other person goes to talk about it, it becomes an offense. So, and the in-law issue is a complicated issue, right? Depending on yourself, the way you relate to, and the way you talk about your wife to your sisters, the way you talk about your wife to your mother, and the way you talk about your husband to. So once you keep on talking negatively, like they make a complaint about your wife, they say, son or two. You see, if you don't defend the person in their presence, and later on the two of you can talk about your issues behind the scenes. But if once you begin to allow them to talk negatively, and you even contribute negatively to it, it becomes a big problem. We had an issue here, it was a big problem. The guy has been talking so negatively to his mother and sisters and brothers, so much so that when there was an issue and we sat down to myself, the pastor, we sat down to sort the whole thing out. When the guy even said that he wants to marry the girl, people said, it won't happen.
No, because if you love her, you will not spoil her like that.
It won't happen, because the thing that he has said about his wife to his people, they said, this woman, no. If that's how she is, bad, no. They said they will never agree for them to patch up again. Depending on what the guy was telling them all the time. So the in-law issue is a bit complicated, but if you know how to handle them, and you try to make them your friends, try to make them your friends. Mothers-in-law especially. Make your friends, and they get to know that you don't have any. Just be your mother. Then gradually you can win them over. Because you see, if you have a problem with your husband's mother, you have a problem with your husband.
But then the husband is supposed to sort it out.
Yeah, I'm saying that if you, the wife, have a problem with your husband's mother, you have a problem with your husband. Because once you don't treat the mother well, you will not feel happy. You will not feel happy. So the best thing is for all of us to try and make sure that the in-laws don't become outlaws. They are proper in-laws. You don't outlaw them. They are in-laws, so let them be in-laws, and let us put all of them together as family and treat all of them alike in the same way.
Thank you. I said, well, don't make your in-laws your outlaws. They are part.
Bring them in, bring them more.
Yes, so they are part of the marriage. I said, well, how do you? It's not easy, but with the help of God,
I think sometimes we back too much Western. The Western values sometimes tell to undermine. Even the Western values came out of Christianity, yet they've gone so far away from the basic Christian principles. The basic Christian principles. Okay. So that if you learn too much about the Western values, you find out that it impacts negatively on Christianity itself.
Oh, okay. So
but Western values are not Christian values.
So like it being just the nuclear family, just you, nobody else.
They are not. Their Western values are not Christian values. They are Western values. But so if you learn about the Western values, too much of Western values, it tends to impact negatively on even Christianity itself.
I get it. So there should be a good balance between Western and then our culture itself. We kaka, then we mix
Christianity
it
itself.
and we move.
Can undermine Christianity itself.
Yeah.
See the issue, you are talking about the issue of people saying that, oh, like what we call the mentality that all of us created the distance. So if you sweep it, it is your job. Right? That's a Western type of mentality. That all of us, you see, I believe that people should have responsibility in the home. So that if the husband or the wife helps you to do what you know is your responsibility, then it becomes easy for you to appreciate it.
Your traditional responsibility.
Right? Appreciate it. Right? So that you don't say that, oh, all of us created this thing, so if you sweep it, so what? Right?
So I watched this week, so next week you will watch.
So that kind of thing. But if we have responsibilities in the home, and somebody does that one, even though you know it's not his or her responsibility, then you have cause to appreciate what the person did, because the person did that one out of his own volition to support, try and help. So then it comes to you as very exciting, and it's not difficult for you to appreciate the person when that thing happens. But if it's his responsibility and does it, what the Bible says that if you do your job, God will say that faithful servant, you have only done my job. In that case, that kind of appreciation doesn't actually come.
Okay. Thank you. In-laws, we've spoken a lot about them. Daddy says we should make them our friends, treat them well with respect. So I think we'll talk about finances. Now, finances is a major cause of issues in marriage. Sikasem, it's breaking down a lot of homes. From your experience, how should the finances in marriage be handled briefly? That will be our last one on our lessons from marriage. How should we handle the finances? One year school fees, 1 year chop money, 1 year rent. You burn a day. Mommy, will you take that one?
When it comes to finances, I think during counseling, some are counseled to have this joint accounts and all that. But I believe in some kind of financial independence. I believe in that. And throughout my marital life, I have been independent financially, but the fact is that you support. You support whatever it is. You have to bring in, and when you have the understanding that whatever you earn belongs to the family, and even beyond that belongs to God. So you have to make sure you spend it according to the way God wants you to spend it, to care for the family. So you don't limit yourself as to how to use your finances to support the family. I per se, we don't have who pays this, who pays that.
Oh, okay. Anybody can pay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So you bring it in, and then you go out, you get to the market, you buy whatever the family needs. When he's also out, he buys whatever the family needs. Okay. And that's how.
So the selflessness.
Yes, we haven't had joint accounts. Financially, we are independent, but we still don't have any problem managing the home. but this one may not work somewhere else. Situations where, we were discussing something, and I, in my mind, I was saying that I was thinking, and I wanted to add that what I will say in my marriage and will not create a problem, if it is said in another marriage, there will be fireworks. So as we are different, I mean individually, marriages are also different. Couples together, the unions differ from one another. So this one may not work. The way we handle our finances in our home may not work somewhere.
Some people will have to put pen and paper down and write everything.
Exactly.
It's true. Depends on the upbringing as well, and what the child sees when growing up. If he sees daddy doing everything and she's a girl, she will expect the husband to do everything. So she doesn't see why she should be paying school fees. So the upbringing too is part.
And you must also know, it could happen that the husband takes so much, but the wife, maybe where the wife works, or may not even be in a formal employment. So you must consider all that too.
Sometimes too, the wife takes more than the husband.
Exactly.
These days.
And in certain marriages, this one brings problem. The woman will want to keep the
extra to herself.
Yes, and expect the man to still do all that maybe they had agreed on. So you need to consider, and there should be some kind of consideration as to how you treat the next person, whatever you do.
We have a comment here from Evangelist Wilberforce. He says, I should tell Daddy that God should bless you and he has learnt a lot from you today. You have been a massive blessing to him. Thank you, sir. That's from Evangelist Wilberforce. Thank you, Sophie Wilberforce. Daddy, do you want to add something to finances? That's the big one.
No, but the point is that I always say that the issue that we deal with the marriage is basically an issue of selfishness. That's the core. That's the core of all the trouble that we have in marriage. It's the issue of selfishness, self-centeredness. It is part of the base nature of man to be selfish, and so everybody wants to outdo the other person. Everybody wants to hide something small from the other person. Everybody
for himself, for herself.
So everybody is trying to ensure that he or she is fine, is better off one way or the other, right? That is the core of the problem. Once you're able to deal with the issue of self-centeredness and selfishness and replace it with Christ-centeredness, then these things begin to melt. See, these things begin to melt. They begin to see something as money as our money, not my money. Right? Once you begin to see the money as our money, then, and you begin to see transparency, truthfulness, integrity in the handling of money, then the fears that people have begin to go away. When the fears go away, then it becomes easy for people to decide on what to use the money for. You get me? But most people have rules and regulations simply because they fear that the other person will cheat.
They don't trust each other.
They don't trust each other. That is the biggest problem in marriage. They don't trust each other. So because they don't trust each other, they want to make sure that nobody cheats the other person. So you put regulations down. That this one will pay school fees. This one will do this one. This one will do this one.
So,
and in the end, sometimes it doesn't even work. Man says that you pay the school fees, do this thing. I will use my money to build a house. They finish and then something else happens. Right? So it's the core of the problem is the issue of selfishness, self-centeredness. That is part of our base human nature. And if you're able to deal with that one, then it becomes easy for us to deal with the issues of money. Because in our country, we always say that God created man. Man created money. But money made man mad.
It's It's true. That this money can make people do.
When men get money,
all sorts of things because of money.
Yes. So money makes man mad. So if we are able to trace and deal with the issue at the source, the root of the problem is the selfishness.
Selfishness, yeah.
So once you're able to deal with that one, and the Bible says that the love of money is the root cause of all kinds of evil. So the love of money, that is where the selfishness is. People that love the money, and therefore they want to make sure that they get the money by all means and also spend it the way they want to spend it, irrespective of whatever. They don't care.
The means.
You get it. So that is the source of the problem. Once we're able to deal with that one, all other things will fall into place.
Selflessness when it comes to money. Oneness. If you are selfish, you want to keep the money for yourself. But if you are selfless, it is for you and your family, because God gave us the money, right? So the source of the money is God, and it is for God and then the family. Because if you have all the money and the family doesn't work, then what is the point? I say more.
I think there must be some kind of transparency also. If you think you need to invest or do some kind of project, it needs to be discussed. Yes, you need to discuss it. If it is agreed, if it's not agreed, the modalities or whatever suggestions may come, then you look at it. But there have been certain or some cases where people do things secretly. Yes. While the other person, I know an issue like that, they were outside. So the other one was
this one sends money to build this one. And now the women too are doing that too. Women are building secretly.
We have to advise ourselves. It will never ever remain secret. And then what's your integrity?
Will be broken.
So, well, even let the person know. If the person says no, well, I would say I don't think
convince the person.
Yeah, I don't think that would be the end. The person must suggest. Then, if we should do it together, whatever, there must be a solution to it. So we shouldn't be secretive. We shouldn't. It's all about the self-centeredness.
And I think that even once the devil knows that that thing is there, all sorts of things come into your mind. Because it may start with a building. You sit down and you are keeping it to yourself. Only God knows what else you do and keep to yourself. So let's just be open. Let's just be open. I'm building here. But if you are not doing it together, knowing him there, it doesn't spoil anything.
And knowing that God is watching you.
Exactly.
So God will let you continue secretly, and then finally you will not sleep in it.
In the house. No, before I enjoy so let's bring the family in. Let's bring each other. Sometimes issues that come up when people unfortunately die, ne spouse aware of property or and then obi otin chena ne nsa nyim kra na obe enjoy. Let's just, people have bank accounts, their wives are not aware, their husbands are not aware, and at the end of the day, stikani guho. Tell a catcher no in your shade. We in there bank account, so may you scanning. Let's be open when it comes to our finances. The money is for both of us. Please, as we conclude, that can you help us, the young ones who are yet to enter into marriage, tell us 2 things that they should look out for in choosing a partner. Like we've said today, marriage is not rosy, even though it's a beautiful institution. But I believe that the right person inside, it can frustrate you a lot. Into young lady out there, or a young man out there, or a year, and no open door wano. Abanyama too, na own look out for in choosing a wife.
See, for us as Christians, the first and the most important, the person must be a Christian. Not just a church goer, but the person must be a Christian. If the person, if that one is met, if that one is met, the person is a Christian, that's the first thing. Because I always say that you should not be unequally yoked with unbelievers.
Unbelievers, yeah.
So if the person is a Christian and you are sure that, even among the Christians, there can be problems. But at least that should be the first and the most important thing. That the person is a Christian. So you share the same faith with the person. If your faith, you share the same faith, it is easy for you to marry when you share the same faith. It is very difficult for you to marry when your faith is different from the faith of the other person.
Yeah.
So that is the first thing that you have to look out for. Then look out for, if you want to marry, look out for what we call the red flags. I mean, there are certain things that if you see the person is doing, you have to be very careful in associating with that person. The person's temper, is it a hot-tempered person? If the person is a hot-tempered person, he is likely to harm you when you marry him. Don't say that, oh, when I marry him, he will stop. It will get worse.
Because you're going to meet conflicts.
Yes, the conflict is more in the marriage.
It will get worse. So if the person is that way, if you are looking at a man, look at the way the man treats his sisters. If you look at the way he treats his sisters, it can give you an indication as to how he values women. Whether he puts value on women or not. If it's the person who doesn't disregard his sisters, he doesn't care what they, then he doesn't have that kind of right attitude towards women. So if you marry such a person, you could have a problem, right? And then if it's a man, a woman wants to marry a man, you have to look out for whether the person is interested in your future. I mean, if you discuss your future with the person, how does he react? Because there are people who don't want their wives to prosper. Because when their wives prosper, they feel that, or they're afraid.
Challenged.
They're afraid that they may challenge them, and the male ego, the male begins to fear that if the woman gets to a certain level, and some have genuine reasons for doing that, because we have no people who.
But how can it be genuine?
People have sponsored their wives, and the wives came and said they are not their type any longer.
But why the men, they didn't improve on themselves?
Yeah, that is it. That is it.
So people have so look out for all those things, and then the level of accountability. If he's a man, does he have somebody that he respects so much that when it comes to accountability, if the person talks to him, he will listen. If he has somebody like that who he respects so much that if things are rough and you talk to that person, the person talks to him and he will listen.
He will listen.
If he doesn't have anybody he's accountable to, he's a very dangerous person. Because then he doesn't listen until he doesn't listen to anybody. So these are things that you want to go into, but you want to look out for and see if these things are happening. And if you are a lady too, you don't try to, you see, most ladies try to look at people and they try to force the people into a certain mood. Like, so
she has decided what she wants. So the man has to
force
fit.
into that one. If
Be
the
like
man,
my
the man
father.
begins to realize that that's the way you are behaving, you begin to have a different mind altogether. Right? He doesn't want to be forced into things. He wants to be himself. And then as you go on, gradually you'll be shaping and guiding and suggesting things, and then you'll be picking them up. Once he begins to know that you are coming from a perspective which is good to him, then you begin to listen. And then, but if most women want to force you that this is the way you must dress, this is the way you must do this is the way. So if all those things are issues that you have to look out for, otherwise you go and you have a lot of problems. And if the person has a character or a behavior that you think that the person will not change, can you accommodate it?
Because they will not change.
You will not change. So if you will not change, can you accommodate that particular issue? If you cannot accommodate it, then don't go into it, because you may not change.
You won't change.
And once you marry, things get worse, because once you get married, you become familiar with things. You begin to, all those things that you used to love, and all those things begin to dissipate. Issues of career comes in, looking after children, responsibilities, and so the marriage becomes not what it used to be. So when those things happen, then those behaviors become worse.
Because everybody is relaxed. They are just being themselves.
Because the Bible says love covers all motive of wrongs. So when there's that, this thing begins to weaken a bit because of all the things that have to go into marriage, then the person begins to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So are you able to accommodate all those things? If you are not, then the best thing to do is not to enter at all in the first place.
Thank you, Daddy. Edna Frimpong says, I
yeah,
see you, Daddy. She says she's watching you, and then Evangelist Archimedes, he says it's serious, so some men are also paying rent to their wives. How about the secrecy?
Yeah, the secrecy.
Some people own houses and they've rented them, the husbands are not aware, they are paying rent. They collect the rent. And so, where are we going with all this?
Yes, yes.
So what would you tell that young person to look out for?
Yeah, as Daddy was talking, I was also looking at acceptance. The person, you know, if you don't really accept the person as he or she is, it becomes difficult to respect the person. So acceptance, you have to accept the way the person you want to enter into marriage with, and then you move on. And based on acceptance again, when you must be friends before you, when you visit the family or he visits you, how do your relations, I mean your family members, accept the person? That one too, you should be watching. You should be watching. Maybe with you, the person is always nice, but with other family members, so other family members may even know certain background.
Sometimes your parents can even pick certain things that you don't know.
You don't know, yes.
Your mom or dad may just meet the person for the first time and pick something that...
As is it Yoruba or Nigerian, what an old lady sitting under the Iroko tree can see, a young man on top of it cannot see. Yes. So acceptance. You bring the person home. Let other members of the family also observe and interact with the person, and they may give you certain
things to look at.
Open your eyes to certain things.
That means that we shouldn't wait till you are about to marry before you bring the person home.
The person, you must be friends. So your parents or your family members, siblings may even, they should know the person. Probably the person is even misbehaving somewhere. Your siblings know, you don't know. So we must look out acceptance, you yourself and then your family members. And then I will also add the issue of patience. In fact, marriage thrives on patience, aside all that we have said. I mean, love and then whatever. Patience. That is what will help you to overcome the challenges that will come. Even if you need to talk about it patiently, you wait at the appropriate time. So I will advise our younger couples and then those who are yet to enter marriage to pray that the Holy Spirit will give them that value of patience to enter marriage with. It takes prayer. It takes prayer and the word of God.
That means if it takes prayer and the word of God, I will say sorry, our giving of our time to Christ. Today, a lot of young ones, they don't have time for those things. I'm busy working. Sorry, baby, but when you and now we better preaching nibi. We quite sorry in some of these things will come up and we'll be able to.
And there are some who also intentionally become members of your church
just to get you.
I had an experience like that. So the person was hovering around. I wasn't interested in the person, and the person knew he has to be something. I mean, spiritually inclined before
the girl will accept.
But still, so some will come with the intention of getting somebody, not with the intention of serving Christ or becoming a child of God.
Just pretending. So we should be able to discern. And so, so be worried. So catch or suffer in them. Yeah, time. I can't 1 month. No, now be catch.
They will say that
and now we say into yankan and so that penny for na omu betumi ehu nyame bi no, they can advise us, they can guide us as we go on this journey of marriage. It's beautiful, as we said, but it also requires a lot, like Mommy said, patience. It requires a lot of things. We've learned a lot today. We've learned so many things about patience, finances, in-laws, giving each other space, showing gratitude for little things, unconditional forgiveness and apologizing. Communication should be informal. We don't like that one. Handling children in the home, managing our time, giving more of ourselves, that is selflessness, which we also see when it comes to finances, respecting each other, and then tolerance and accommodation for each other. Mijidi say, God is our helper. He alone is the one that can guide us in this journey of marriage. To the young ones, so person worry and pacho, consult with God. I feel you can't do it without him. And I will somewhere. It is only God that can help you. Let's turn to God, and I believe that it will work out beautifully for us. Mr. and Mrs. Ekuban, we are so grateful for your time today. For all that you have shared with us. I'm sure it will help us in our marriage journeys. Thank you, and God bless you. Next time you come again to share more with us. To our viewers as well, thank you for your comments, your contributions. Thank you for sitting by your phones and watching us. Please share with your friends and let them also learn something. We'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.